Famous people and celebrities who passed away in 1977 in the United States. This is the first episode. Before we proceed, please subscribe to our channel to support us. Onslow Stevens. He was born in March 1902 and he died in January 1977. His age was 74 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was complications from a fall. Onslow Stevens was an American stage, television and film actor. Born in Los Angeles, California, Steven was the son of British-born character actor Housley Stevenson. Stevens became involved in performing in 1926 at the Pasadena Community Playhouse, where his entire family worked as performers, directors, and teachers. His Broadway debut came in Stage Door in 1936. He performed in over 80 films, at first as the lead actor, but mostly in character roles later in his career. He spent the last years of his life in a nursing home in Van Nuys, Los Angeles, California, where, according to his wife, he was abused by his fellow residents, and that his death was neither from natural causes or an accident. He died of pneumonia after suffering a broken hip in 1977 at the age of 74. His interment was in an unmarked grave located at Valhalla Memorial Park Cemetery in North Hollywood, California. For his contribution to the motion picture industry, Steven has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 6349 Hollywood Boulevard. Peter Finch. He was born in September 1916 and he died in January 1977. His age was 60 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was heart attack. Peter Finch was an English-Australian actor of theatre, film and radio. Born in London, he emigrated to Australia at the age of 10 and was raised in Sydney, where he worked in vaudeville and radio before becoming a star of Australian films. Joining the Old Vic Company after the Second World War, he achieved widespread critical success in Britain for both stage and screen performances, one of British cinema's most celebrated leading men of the time. Finch won the BAFTA Award for Best Actor in a Leading Role 5 times and won a posthumous Academy Award for Best Actor for his portrayal of crazed television anchorman Howard Beale in the 1976 film Network. According to the British Film Institute, it is arguable that no other actor ever chalked up such a rewarding CV in British films, and he accumulated the award to bolster this view. He died only 2 months before the 49th Academy Awards, making him the first person to win a posthumous Oscar in an acting category. As of 2025, the only other person to have done so was fellow Australian Heath Ledger. Errol Garner. He was born in June 1921 and he died in January 1977. His age was 55 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was cardiac arrest related to emphysema. Errol Garner was an American jazz pianist and composer known for his swing, playing, and ballads. His instrumental ballad, Misty, his best-known composition, has become a jazz standard. It was first recorded in 1956 with Mitch Miller and his orchestra and played a prominent part in the 1971 motion picture Play Misty for Me. Scott Yanow of AllMusic calls him one of the most distinctive of all pianists and a brilliant virtuoso. Garner received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 6363 Hollywood Boulevard. His live album, Concert by the Sea First, released in 1955, sold more than 1 million copies by 1958, and Yanow's opinion on the album is that it made such a strong impression that Garner was considered immortal from then on. Garner sued Columbia Records in 1960 for breach of contract after Columbia released several recordings without Garner's consent. Garner had signed a 5-year deal with Columbia in 1956, which contained an unprecedented clause negotiated with the aid of manager Martha Glazer, giving Garner the right to approve the release of any of his recorded music. William Dropper. He was born in December 1897 and he died in January 1977. His age was 79 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was myocardial infarction. William Dropper was an American cartoonist, painter, lithographer, and muralist. A committed radical, Dropper was best known for his political work, which he contributed to such left-wing publications as The Revolutionary Age, The Liberator, The New York Masses, The Worker, and Morgan Fahrenheit. In 1915, Dropper showed a portfolio of his work to Frank Parsons, the head of the New York School of Fine and Applied Arts. The work so impressed Parsons that Dropper was offered a scholarship to the school. Dropper continued to work reduced hours for reduced wages in the clothing store while he continued his artistic education. In the subsequent 2 years, Dropper gained recognition and awards for his work. In 1917, Dropper was offered a position on the staff of the New York Tribune, where over the next several years he earned a steady income, doing drawings for the paper's special Sunday feature articles. At this time, the politically radical Dropper was brought into the orbit of original and innovative artists around the left wing. New York Monthly, The Masses. After The Masses was banned from the United States mail in 1917 due to its unflinching anti-militarism. Gary Gilmore. He was born in December 1940 and he died in January 1977. His age was 36 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was execution by firing squad. Gary Gilmore was an American criminal who gained international attention for demanding the implementation of his death sentence for 2 murders he had admitted to committing in Utah. After the United States Supreme Court upheld a new series of death penalty statutes in the 1976 decision, Gregg v. Georgia, he became the first person in almost 10 years to be executed in the United States. These new statutes avoided the problems under the 1972 decision in Furman v. Georgia, which had resulted in earlier death penalty statutes being deemed cruel and unusual punishments, and therefore unconstitutional. The Supreme Court had previously ordered all states to commute death sentences to life imprisonment after Furman. Gilmore was executed by a firing squad in 1977. His life and execution were the subject of the 1979 non-fiction novel The Executioner's Song by Norman Mailer and the 1982 TV film of the novel starring Tommy Lee Jones as Gilmore. Ruth Graves Wakefield. She was born in June 1903 and she died in January 1977. Her age was 73 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. Ruth Graves Wakefield was an American chef known for her innovations in the baking field. She pioneered the first chocolate chip cookie recipe, an invention many people incorrectly assume was a mistake. Her new dessert, supposedly conceived as she returned from vacation in Egypt, is the inspiration behind the massively popular Toll House chocolate chip cookie. Throughout her life, Wakefield found occupation as a dietitian, educator, business owner, and published author. She wrote a cookbook titled Ruth Wakefield's Toll House Tried and True Recipes. Ruth used an ice pick to break the chocolate into pea-sized bits, which today would be recognized as the cookie's staple. Chocolate chips, as opposed to the melting and disseminating across the cookie. The bits maintained their chunky form as they baked. Visitors loved the revolutionary good, and the novel dessert created an influx of visitors. It became so popular that it was featured in newspapers and The Wakefields received countless letters from people requesting their recipe, and the Toll House cookie became the most popular desserts of the time. Toots Shor. He was born in May 1903 and he died in January 1977. His age was 73 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. Toots Shor was the proprietor of the salon and restaurant Toots Shor's Restaurant in Manhattan. He ran 3 establishments under that name, but his first was located at 51 West 51st Street. He was a saloon keeper, friend, and confidant to some of the New York's biggest celebrities during that era. In 1950, Shor was the subject of a 3-part biography published in The New Yorker entitled Toots' World, written by John Bainbridge, who later combined the series into a book. 20 years later, another biography, Toots, was written by Bob Considine. In 2006, the biographical documentary Toots, in which his granddaughter Christy Jacobson profiled his life, premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival. It took Best Film at the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum's first annual film festival on November 12, 2006. Toots was released to theaters in the fall of 2007. Shor was portrayed by Vlas Savrana in Gleason, a 2002 television biopic about Jackie Gleason. The J. Peterman Company sells the Toots Shor blouse and Toots Shor dresses. Thanks for watching the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Have a nice day.